And in the morning, I'm making waffles. This is AU HASARD BALTHAZAR.
I don't even remember that song being in there. I just remember All Star.
What?
Yeah. It's
So
been a
the
long
ending
time.
song. Okay, first watch the movie, I think, and then watch Shrek Retold.
And Shrek 2. I don't think I've ever seen Shrek 2.
You're missing out. It's a really good sequel.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Welcome to Seen and Heard. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound top 100 greatest films of all time list. This week, we're at number 16. This is Robert Bresson's AU HASARD BALTHAZAR. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Greg.
How are you?
Good?
So one of those hot nights. We had a previous episode where we recorded.
It was Apocalypse Now.
And we were dying. Yeah, it was Apocalypse Now.
It's not as bad today.
It's not as bad, but it's still just like not comfortable. So
yeah, whatever. Well, this is also not a comfortable movie, so.
That's true. So I'm doubly in misery and pain.
Listen up.
Listen here.
Here.
We have a special giveaway happening this month, don't we, Jackie?
Yes, we do.
What's the giveaway? Do you want to tell the people what's going on?
Sure, I'll tell the people. We are both big fans, if you didn't already know, of the Criterion Collection, the Criterion Channel. We love it all. Give us that little half circle C and we'll take it, literally anything. So we want to share the love with you guys.
So yeah, we're going to have a post on our Instagram on the Arroyo Film Club page. That's ARROYO Film Club at Instagram. So if you are following the Instagram account and you tag a friend in the comments, you are automatically entered into our contest to win a $50 Criterion gift card.
And it will be emailed to you.
Yeah, and it's perfect because the Criterion flash sale, they have the 24-hour flash sale, I think is coming up in either September or October. So this is perfect timing for that. You can grab a couple Criterions.
Few discs. You can enjoy the lovely booklet that comes in each disc. Yeah. Read an essay, watch a great movie.
I mean, most of the films we discuss here are released by Criterion. So again, follow our page on Instagram, tag a friend in the comments. One entry per person. You can't tag like a bunch of friends and get a bunch of entries. It's one entry per person, and we will randomly select a winner, and we will announce it on our September 6th episode. That is the first Tuesday of September. So be listening that week, and we will announce the winner.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be great.
Anyway, what have you been watching recently?
I saw Leave Her to Heaven, the John Stahl movie.
Oh my God. Did you love it?
I really liked it. It's like super pulpy.
Yes.
Like super to an intense degree. It's really ridiculous. It's really fun. It really is.
Gene Tierney, Vincent Price.
Vincent Price is so handsome.
Yeah.
So handsome. And she is gorgeous. Like that's the first thing I've ever seen her in.
Oh, okay. I guess I've seen her just a couple. Wait, isn't she in Laura?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Which I haven't seen. Is that also Stahl?
I don't know.
So it's so fun. It's really melodramatic. The nephew scene where he drowns.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, spoiler for like this movie that came out in 1945. It's so funny. And then I was watching it in the basement and my mom was upstairs and she yelled down. She's like, "What movie is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's called Leave Her to Heaven." She's like, "I've seen this. Like, I've seen this on TCM once." And she's like, "I don't know how I remember it." She's like, "Someone's drowning, right?" Yeah. But it's so memorable. Like, I don't think I'll ever forget this movie.
It's so funny. If I didn't know you and I hadn't been in your basement, the image of you watching like these old movies in a basement while your mom was shouting down.
Basement is like a TV room.
I know.
So yeah, a lot of fun. I can't say I loved it because it's just like, it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it knows it's a lot.
I guess.
I really loved it, yeah.
Did you really love it?
Yeah, it was a great.
I mean, it's fun. I'll
Great
watch
time.
it anytime.
It's a great
Yeah,
time.
it's a great time.
I love, the older I get, the more I'm drawn to like really pulpy, lurid stuff like that.
Yeah, I could tell. And then I watched Calendar by Otome Goyan. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't, no.
So I am the worst person in the world. Like, I don't know why I haven't seen this movie. It's really fascinating. It's really short. It's like this nice little movie where him and his wife, and it's his real life wife, her name is Arsine Khanjan. She's in like all his movies. They go to Armenia to take photos for a calendar of all of the really old churches. That's why it's called Calendar. And during their trip, he's never on screen. He's behind the camera when you see the scenes of them on the trip, because he's taking the photos and he's taking the video. But you can see their relationship like slowly deteriorating.
Oh.
And like it's matched with him in present day, like on dates with other women. It's really good. Like, I can't believe I hadn't seen this movie, and I'm so glad it exists. Honestly, it's just like, it's wonderful. And I can't believe it takes place in Armenia. Like, it's just, it's
yeah, because he's Armenian and Canadian.
He's Canadian.
Right?
He's Canadian Armenian.
Yeah.
And I felt horrible that I hadn't seen this movie. But now I've seen it, and I love it, and it's great. And it's on the Criterion Channel.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask where you saw it.
Yeah, and it's great. It's only like an hour and 13 minutes.
I've only seen his one big one. I feel bad. I should see more, but Sweet Hereafter. It's the only one I've seen.
I actually haven't seen it.
It's good.
I need to. I know. I need to do like a deep dive. And then the last thing I saw that I want to mention is Souvenir Part 2. I rewatched it, and you haven't seen it yet.
I've never heard you talk about this movie.
And
Wait, what is it?
I'm mentioning it here to get you to watch it because it's so good.
Well, I have the Blu-ray sitting there. I'm just waiting.
It.
I'm waiting for Molly to be in the mood to watch it.
I see. Okay.
I watched part 1 with her, and she was not like a huge fan, and I did tell her that people like part 2 more, and she's like into. I showed her the trailer for part 2, and she's into it. But I brought it up the other night, and then we ended up watching something else instead.
It's such a good. I think I watched it on like Saturday night. I was kind of like tired. I'm like, I want to watch something I know I love. And it was perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. What have you been watching?
Couple things. I did see We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Oh, yeah.
I liked it. Got to give the movie props alone for like never knowing where this was going.
Yeah.
And still, I feel like that's a rare thing these days to make a movie where it is constantly surprising you. I liked it. And again, shows what you can do with like no
micro
money.
budget. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really liked it. I saw Sorcerer, the William Friedkin movie, which I've seen before and I love, but I saw it on the big screen at the American Cinematheque. Not on film, it was a DCP, but with my friend Jonathan, he hadn't seen it before. I don't even think he knew what to expect. And we went in and it was so fucking good. That movie is so fucking good. Of course, it's William Friedkin's remake of Clouseau's The Wages of Fear. Both films are great. I saw Wages of Fear first, so part of me is always kind of like partial to that one, but William Friedkin is incredible, and what he does with it is just insane. Do you know the basic premise of the story? Mm-hmm. It's 4 men, it's 4 outlaws in a South American town. They're all stuck there because they're running from something. And they all take this job to drive these big oil rigs, these big trucks across these like dirt roads, because this oil well, there's a fire at this oil well like 200 miles away. And so they're given dynamite to go stop the fire at the oil well. The problem is the dynamite's been sitting there for a long time, and dynamite sweats nitroglycerin. So you can't even really shake it. So they have they have to drive these trucks very carefully over like these really rocky, rough roads. And it's just tension filled.
Wow.
And of course, Sorcerer, the Friedkin version, has Roy Scheider in it. He's great cast. And then I saw The Brown Bunny. So Vincent Gallo's film, which I had never seen. Of course, I remember when it came out in 2003, which is crazy because it feels like it was like 5 years ago. But Vincent Gallo, who, you know, the controversial figure who did Buffalo 66, which I love. Have you seen Buffalo 66? Really great movie. Ben Gazzara, Christina Ricci, Angelica Houston. Really good. So this was his follow-up, and this movie killed his career because famously has an unsimulated blowjob with him and Chloe Sevigny. Mm-hmm. And Ebert famously thought, he like got up during a screening of the movie at Cannes at the world premiere and started yelling during the movie because he hated it so much. Which is
Ebert?
Straight up unprofessional. It's funny because when I saw it at the New Beverly, Vincent Gallo was there, and Vincent Gallo introduced it, and he introduced it by showing Ebert's bad review of it first.
No way.
really great movie. I know there's a whole cult of people out there who have been with it the whole time. I have a friend who, since it came out, has loved it. It's crazy how much hate this movie got, and it's a really, really great movie.
Wow.
And it's just so, like, of course Americans are going to get bent out of shape about an unsimulated blowjob. It's just so silly that killed the movie. You know, It's like, what?
I can't believe Roger Ebert. That's so
it's really
unlike
unprofessional.
him.
Yeah. And then him and Vincent Gallo had a back and forth. Vincent Gallo told him that he had the physique of a slave trader.
What?
And then Ebert went back and said, I'm going to be thin one day, but you'll still be the director of The Brown Bunny. And it was this like back and forth. And then Vincent Gallo wished like cancer on Ebert, and then Ebert got cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he said, because he was at the screening, and he was like, people started coming up to me afterwards thinking I like hexed him, like I was a witch or something. But it's funny, even now, and you know, Ebert's been dead for almost 10 years, and Vincent Gallo was still at the screening. He's like, Ebert, that fat fuck, like he was still.
What? That's so sad.
But also, Ebert almost kind of like single-handedly killed his career because he got up during a screening of Brown Bunny and he started singing "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" during his film.
Why?
It's a very slow, contemplative movie. And it's so funny to watch this clip of Ebert and Roper, and they're both like, this is the worst movie in the history of Cannes.
Clip?
Yeah, because he
played it. A clip of him standing up singing?
Oh, no. They just play a clip of the Ebert and Roper show where
talking about it?
Yeah, and when he's saying this is the worst film in Cannes history.
Oh my God.
I'm like, you're an idiot if you think that. You're a straight up idiot. Anyway, long rant. Really good movie. If for some reason you've avoided The Brown Bunny this whole time because you think Vincent Gallo is a creep or what, maybe he is a little bit of a creep. I don't know. I feel like every movie of his, he's always like kissing women and stuff. And of course, he's the star. He wrote it. He directed it. But again, Chloe Sevigny, consenting adult.
Yeah.
And I know to this day, she still doesn't regret doing the movie. So take from that what you will. But really, really worthwhile because it's an existential road trip movie.
Yeah.
Kind of done in the style of like Antonioni almost. And like the Antonioni that did The Passenger and stuff. So I love that kind of feel. And I'm always drawn to like road trip stories. And I feel like I have one in me at some point. And the look and the feel of this movie was just spot on. So good. He did mention he's making a new film at the screening. So
wow.
But yeah, good movie.
Well, it's time to talk about another good movie.
We'll see about that.
Oh no.
This is Robert Bresson's AU HASARD BALTHAZAR.
AU HASARD BALTHAZAR was released in 1966. It was written and directed by Robert Bresson, cinematography by Ghislaine Cloquet. The film follows its titular character, a donkey named Balthazar, as he is passed down from owner to owner in a provincial French town. He is first adopted as a baby by a few innocent children. Among them is Marie and her childhood sweetheart, Jacques. Years of hard work with abusive owners later, he returns to Marie, who is now a teenager and involved with the town's teen delinquent Gerard. Gerard tortures Balthazar while using him on his bread deliveries for the local bakery. Eventually, Balthazar is under the ownership of a drunk, Arnold, and after Arnold's death, he is given to a greedy, abusive miller who overworks him. Finally, Marie leaves the violent Gerard for good, and Balthazar is returned to her family. However, before accepting a marriage proposal from Jacques, she must have it out with Gerard. Gerard and his gang strip her, beat her, and lock her in her house, and Marie, quote, goes away forever shortly after. The gang then steals Balthazar to use him to smuggle contraband perfume and gold. They are pursued by customs guards, and Balthazar is shot. Exhausted, aged, and wounded, Balthazar quietly dies on a peaceful hill surrounded by a flock of sheep, finally free of the horrors of humanity. Real feel-good stuff going on here.
Yeah.
The film is the debut of Anne Wiazemski as Marie. She went on to be a very prominent actress in France, and particularly with Godard. The two were married shortly after this movie came out. And of course, part of Bresson's dogma of, the idea of cinematography rather than like pure cinema was to use non-actors, models as he called them, in his films. So no one's a professional actor, but a guy named Jean-Claude Guilbert is Arnold.
How many years of French did you take?
I don't know why I'm laughing, because I'm like, no one's an actor. So yeah, Jean-Claude Guilbert is Arnold, and Francois Lafarge is Gerard. Also, the donkey who plays Balthazar had no training, which is hilarious because like Bresson's actors had no training, but also this was a donkey that had no training. So it was like he's just one of the guys.
It's kind of miraculous because animals are notoriously difficult to maneuver in movies, and he seems to hit all his marks.
The only thing he was trained in was the circus scene, obviously.
Right.
Donkeys are really smart.
Yeah.
They're very smart animals. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The film premiered at the 1966 Venice Film Festival and was widely acclaimed in Europe. However, it opened at the first time it played in the United States was the New York Film Festival, also in 1966, to mostly bad reviews. The Americans did not like it. And then it got a theatrical release in 1970. The film was inspired by a passage in Dostoevsky's The Idiot, where a character talks about how much he loves his lowly donkey. And Jean-Luc Godard famously said of this film that it is the world in an hour and a half. Why are you laughing? It is. I'm about to kick Greg out of this podcast right now. Among the directors who cite this as their favorite movie or among their favorite movies, Michael Haneke, who put it as number one when he voted on the director's list, Richard Linklater, Herzog, and Wes Anderson.
You know who was not a fan of this movie?
Pauline Kael.
Bergman.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too, which is really weird.
Bergman, in quotes, said, "This Balthazar, I didn't understand. I didn't understand a word of it. It was so completely boring. A donkey to me is completely uninteresting, but a human being is always interesting." I disagree with him on the last part, but little spoiler alert here. I more or less agree with
Bergman. I feel like you're purposely not liking this movie so you can be different.
No,
you like Bergman.
No,
so annoying. Anyway, the name meaning the AU HASARD part just means at random.
Right.
Balthazar.
Right.
Which is so.
Another interesting, why wasn't this translated to English? It's another one of those, we've had this conversation before. Because
it rhymes, maybe that's why. I
guess, but it means nothing for us.
Who cares? It rhymes. It has a good ring to it.
I guess.
Do I even want to know your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts. We talked about this last episode, as you told me I will watch any random stop motion film from Antarctica about a shoe that I haven't seen AU HASARD BALTHAZAR. So listen, I've finally seen AU HASARD BALTHAZAR, all right? I've seen it. Look, I wanted to like this. Bresson is hit and miss for me. I really love L'Argent, and I love A Man Escaped. I think Man Escaped was the first one I saw, and I really loved it. I love those two. The only other one I've seen besides this is Pickpocket, which I was not really a fan of. So, and I know that's on the 100 list, so we're going to get to that.
I don't think, is it on the 100?
I believe Pickpocket is. I think so. So, yeah, I really wanted to like this. I've heard about it for years. And on paper, I love it. It's like the story of a donkey that's passed from person to person and abused that dies at first of all, okay, first of all, I'm not really a fan of this movie. I don't think it's necessarily a bad movie. It's not a film for me. And okay. I so rarely say that, but it's just genuinely not for me in the sense that it's so unrelentingly bleak and there's not a shred of human compassion in this movie.
Exactly.
And not just Balthazar is mistreated, but then also she's mistreated. Yes. And it's so dark. Like she's prostituting herself to these horrible older like farmers and stuff. And it's such a dumpster dive.
Have you seen Mouchette?
No, I haven't.
So it's very similar. It's like the sister to this movie, but it's just about a little girl.
Oh, great. Great. I'm going to love it.
It's actually really good. I think you might like it.
I mean, I still want to see all of his stuff, but this is not for me. I think Here's my problem with Bresson. I like the fact that he uses untrained actors. My problem is his use of the word model. And I think that's indicative of his bigger mindset of he will have these actors just rehearse, say the line. So at the end, there's nothing coming out. And that's like his intention. He was very like anti-acting and stuff, which in some weird, like I kind of appreciate, but at the same time also what a complete like disrespect of the acting craft. And also, who the fuck are you to come in and be like, this whole tradition that's been happening since the dawn of humans, fuck this. Like you're now models and just come in here and say the lines and I'm going to wear you down. You know, there's just like a certain kind of like narcissism about that and a certain like
he's French
blasé like yeah, but as much as I am not a huge Godard fan, that was not the case with Godard, and it's definitely not the case with Truffaut. A lot of the French New Waves were humanists. Look at Agnes Varda. Look at...
It's not New Wave. This is not New Wave.
No, of course it's not New Wave. But I'm just saying lots of French filmmakers from the same time had feeling in their films. My problem with this movie is that he's not good at the character stuff. So I wanted to love this because I thought it was mostly about the donkey. And if we had gotten a sort of slow cinema version of just this donkey and the human stuff was happening on the periphery, I would like it much more, but he tries to involve the humans too much, and I don't give a fuck about any of them. And he does, because he doesn't make me care. None of them are compelling, and it's all so bleak and unrelenting. And you mentioned Michael Haneke, and I can see why he loves this. But Haneke, I feel like has I get it, and I can see why he's inspired by Bresson, but Haneke has something for me that Bresson doesn't. And again, most of Haneke's films are completely unrelenting, like more bleak than this movie almost. But the difference is that I feel like Haneke is exploring something in those extremes, whereas Bresson is keeping it so reined in. And I just think at the end of the day, I don't care about any of these characters, and they're just all being shitty to each other. I just wanted to reach through the screen and strangle Gerard. Like, what a piece of shit lowlife.
Scary.
He's
good. Like, I think that Gerard's performance is great.
I think it's pretty good.
He is terrifying because he seems so normal.
I know, but it's like, for what? You know, like, my problem is he wants to have it both ways. He wants it to be about the humans surrounding Balthazar, but he also wants it to be about Balthazar. And I think for me, this would have been a little purer if it was just about the donkey. And I think that's a silly thing to say. Of course, the donkey doesn't speak and the donkey's not emoting very much. But I think it would have been a stronger statement if more of this movie was just the donkey. You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, okay, this sounds like I'm really knocking the movie, and I don't really mean this, but I kind of do. This movie's like a parody of a serious art film. Like when you see a serious art film in a comedy that's like, did you ever see Mr. Bean's Holiday?
I did once.
With Willem Dafoe?
Yeah.
So the whole subplot, like Willem Dafoe is this director in that movie, and he has a movie premiering at Cannes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bean gets to Cannes at the end, and it shows like the opening of this super pretentious movie that Willem Dafoe directed and edited and is starring in, and it's like, it's so hilarious. But this movie almost could be in a comedy. Like you could show a minute of this, and people would laugh. And that sounds kind of harsh. And again, I didn't hate this movie. And I get what people are getting from this. It just didn't do it for me in any way. I was honestly kind of pissed off because the whole point is Bresson is showing the cruelty to this pure animal, right? It's also, you know, people say this is a Christ parable. Like there's lots of different interpretations, but I think it's about the way that humanity just completely suffocates anything that's pure and good. Mm-hmm. But the problem is Bresson himself is abusing this donkey in the shoot. People are kicking it. People are hitting it. He lights its tail on fire.
Here's the thing. I think that the tail lighting on fire was real, but if you see the hitting, you don't see the donkey. I don't think they're actually hitting the donkey.
So I noticed a lot of those shots, like when they're hitting its rear or something, it's just the rear. And I almost thought, is that a fake like donkey behind?
Why would he do it like that?
But
like,
still, he's still
And then the guy that's whipping, he's just hitting the ground. Yeah, the sound is terrifying.
Well, no, but when they're kind of like, they have its neck and they're pulling it. And I feel like some of because there's shots where they're full on just like it looks like hitting it. I don't know.
But it's not. It looks like it's from the back. Like, it looks like it's just a plane. They're hitting a board or something. Or you see his face while they're hit. You hear a whipping sound.
And I don't want to say it's like terribly egregious because Lord knows we reviewed movies on here before that
have slaughter in them.
Yeah, are really horrific treatment of animals. But still, this poor donkey, again, when even like the fireworks are going off, you can tell it's startled, you know. I just think in him trying to show people abusing, like, I don't know, like, did you have to light its tail on fire?
That was fucked up.
There could have been a better way to shoot that. And I think it kind of works against him. It's funny because on the Criterion Channel, I watched a thing with Donald Ritchie, who is a film historian and also filmmaker who has since passed away. But he was talking about how much he loves Bresson and how much he loves this film and how he's so moved to tears by it. But he also says in that same interview, he's like, I have lots of friends who, like, whenever I take them to a Bresson movie and like we have similar tastes and everything, I'll take them to Bresson. They're like, Jesus Christ, like just not into it at all. And so he acknowledges that Bresson is this very divisive figure.
Yeah.
And that,
yeah.
And again, I don't dislike the guy. Like, I like two of his films that I've seen a lot, but this one just didn't do it for me. My long-winded point, this one did not do it for me.
That's really sad.
How about you?
It's really, really sad. I'm really heartbroken because I really was counting on you really liking this movie. I said in the last episode. Because, funnily enough, Greg, you're the person who told me about this movie. We were working together. I swear to God. No, I'm not kidding. I remember this. It was like lunch.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I think we started talking about like French movies. And you're like, oh, have you seen AU HASARD BALTHAZAR? I'm like, no. And you sold it. You said it's about a donkey, but like he doesn't talk. He doesn't, nothing. It's just about a donkey. And I was like, oh my God, I have to see that. And I saw it because of you. And lo and behold, you don't even like the movie.
Well, I hadn't even seen it at that point.
But you told me about it.
Yeah, I knew it was probably, I was supposed to like probably watch it that week. And then I just kept putting it off or something.
So yeah, this was my second time seeing it. And you know, it does have this reputation of being this holy grail of art movies, which is why I can see how it's like kind of seen as a parody by some like you. Beloved, sad, weird movie about a donkey. Yeah, it is. Like, that's how I feel about it. That's really how I feel about it. And it's like, it was more affecting this second time around. It really was. Probably because since the first time I saw it, I have read Notes on the Cinematograph, which is his book. It's just like a book. Have you ever read it?
No.
It's a book of little, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like little just
haikus.
Little thoughts he's had. It's not a cohesive book. They're just organized by theme, and they're little thoughts he's had, and it's just him explaining his theory and his dogma. So I read it while I was making my short. Actually, my short is like nothing like a Bresson movie at all. No. But I thought I was so cool. I'm like, I have to read this book, and it's gonna make my movie awesome. My movie's not like it at all, but I think that's why I love this movie so much, because it is this perfect example of his craft and of his theory. Like, it's just spot on, like perfect. And I just love that this film speaks a completely different language than anything else I've seen, but it tackles such a universal issue like violence and human cruelty that it's impossible not to feel anything. Like, you're telling me you didn't feel anything watching this movie? It's
not that I didn't feel anything. Of course I felt something at the end. But it's just, of course, it's a cheap way to make you feel. But like, look at this poor animal getting abused. You know what I mean? Like, anyone can do that. Look at this poor animal dying.
Okay, but I like the Marie stuff is also sad.
He
just see her from behind, and you don't see her actually being abused, but you see her afterwards from behind, and it works. And then she goes away. Like, what the hell does that mean? But it's like, oh.
I think there's just, there's too much and not enough. Like, if he's going to get into them a little more, he should have gotten, like, I don't need to see her being abused. I like the way that he kind of like cuts around that stuff. But he didn't give me enough to really care about her. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? It's just.
I think the reason I love it is just because, like, yes, you are watching hands. You're watching feet. You're hearing heightened sounds. You're watching a story about a donkey who you come to care for because, like, film, and not like filmed theater like Bresson hated, but his version of this cinematography is still an empathy machine. And I think that's magical to me. Like, I think the fact that just seeing hands putting bread in a mailbox, taking it out, like that is working for me and making me feel like the alcoholic really too, like when he knocks down the glass and then you see his hands moving towards the chair, like it works, you know?
It
and
does.
it's still, and it's his invention. Like, I don't know. I think that's magical. I also just have a really soft spot for donkeys. They're so cute.
Yeah, but
and
he's
they're
not
so smart.
Bresson's not doing any of that heavy lifting. It's all the animal. You could put any animal in this.
I'm talking about everything before. What I just said. His whole
No, I get that,
thing.
and I agree with that to an extent. But I think I just don't think that he. I both love and hate. I think. Really, for me with Bresson, it has to be the right material because I do love his style and I love this super minimalist, the cinema of hands and stuff and things and tactile stuff. But I just think it all depends on the subject. And I think for me, this movie didn't quite do it.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't remember having that conversation with you, but I believe you. I
remember.
It's so funny that I so enthusiastically recommended a movie that I hadn't seen.
Yeah, pretty weird. Kind of like how you buy Blu-rays of movies you haven't even seen.
Well, if they're not streaming, how else are you supposed to see them?
They're always streaming.
No. Or like they're streaming in an inferior quality.
Let's talk about like his cinematography ideology a little bit. So his whole theory, what he stood for, what his cinema was that there's a difference between cinema, which is just a regular movie that uses the proponents of theater, actors, costumes, sets, directing actors. So that's cinema, and then there's cinematography, which uses the form to its full capacity, free of any likeness to theater or literature. And here's just a little snippet from the book that I like. Here's what he says. The truth of cinematography cannot be the truth of theater, not the truth of the novel, nor the truth of painting. What the cinematographer captures with his or her own resources cannot be what the theater, the novel, the painting captures with theirs. So that's why he doesn't like acting. He wasn't shitting on the form of acting. He was shitting on the form of of thinking that movie acting needs to be the same as theater acting.
Well, but here's the thing. He's shitting on acting in the sense that he's not trusting a performer to bring what they're going to bring.
That's not it.
He doesn't even want a performer.
Exactly. So that's not trusting it. It's like, for my
because
style,
he doesn't even
it's
want
like,
an actor.
I don't want the actors to express the emotion. I don't want to tell you what to feel. I want you to feel it.
I feel like it's taking it to a bit of an extreme, and I think sometimes it works.
That's why I don't think anyone can do it but him.
What does he have? Some magic touch?
Yeah.
He's literally a sewer rat. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but here's the thing, right? The whole models thing, it recalls like Hitchcock and stuff, where he believed that actors were cattle and they were there. Like Hitchcock kind of detested actors and didn't even really like the shooting process because the whole film was in his head beforehand. And I think in the case of Bresson, he likes actors even less than Hitchcock because at least Hitchcock relied on and trusted real actors to bring what they were going to bring to it.
Okay, but here's the thing. If he knew that he wasn't going to like the performance of the actor, why should he hire them? Why should he disrespect them and their craft and say, you suck?
Maybe he didn't look hard enough. Maybe he didn't find the right people.
But that's not what what he wants.
Well,
so why would he bother?
Here's the problem, too. I like when people use unprofessional actors. I think someone like Sean Baker does it really well.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, they're emoting.
He doesn't want to emote. He wants you to emote.
Here's the thing. But here's the thing. In life, people emote. You know what I mean?
He's not trying to imitate life.
But his films, this quote of like, they are the world. Then how are they the world if they're not even life? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can it even be?
That's true. That's a good point. But I think he meant that more like theoretically.
Well, fuck him and that bullshit. I think it's like, what is he trying to go for? Like then he's trying to go for some stylized alternate thing, which is fine. But I think his films want to be natural. It's like they're trying to be natural, but he's like holding them back from being too natural. And it's just like, I get like, there's plenty of films I like where people are like barely emoting, but you're still getting something. Like I didn't get anything. I mean, what's the lead actor's name in this again? What's her name?
Anna Wiazemski.
Yeah, her. So she was good, but again, she's just not quite given enough. And it's like it's too little and it's too much at the same time. You have to go in one direction or the other. And I think his whole, just the whole models thing bothers me. It does.
Okay.
Like, I think that's shitty.
It's fair.
I think it's shitty.
To
And
each his own.
I think too, like, because the kind of filmmaker that I am and the one that I want to be is like, I'm very actor forward. Bless you.
Yeah, listen, I love theater. I love actors. I would never make a movie like this, but I can look at this movie and like, yeah, I am destroyed.
Yeah. Well, okay, Mark Cousins, the critic and filmmaker who we mentioned last episode because he's a big fan of Moulin Rouge, he said that if Bergman and Fellini filmed life as if it were a theater and a circus, respectively, Bresson's microcosm was that of a prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not how pessimistic this movie is that bothers me. I think it's just like, because again, if you look at Haneke, who is a direct influence from Bresson, Haneke, you care, like I'm thinking about The Seventh Continent or thinking about the Funny Games, his original Funny Games. Like, you care about these families that are going through these horrible things. Or you think about The Piano Teacher with Isabelle Huppert. Like, it's not like they're going so big, but you're getting what you need from these people, and I feel connected to them.
Right.
Whereas in this film, I felt no connection with any character.
Yeah,
And I
not
feel
even
like
Balthazar.
Well, of course, because he's an animal, and you can film any animal, and I'll feel sympathy. Any animal, seriously, it's not hard to do, and this would have been way more impressive if it was just Balthazar's, POV, like not literally, but just this happening in the peripheries instead of like it is kind of, then it's forefront, then it's like, I don't know, I just don't care. Like, sound like I hate it. I still don't hate it.
It's fine.
I'd rewatch it. I'd give this 5 years and I'd revisit.
Okay. But let's talk about, the style, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk about, I get everything you're saying, and yet I'm obsessed with these moments in this movie. I'm obsessed with the way that he captures moments. I have a long list. It's just like everything. Like, okay, the hands lighting the candle. The beginning, his baptism. Did you ever baptize any of your pets?
No.
I did.
Because I was never that religious.
Me and my best friend have baptized my bunny and my dog. And she still, when she comes over, she says like, oh yeah, that's my godson. Like,
you didn't dunk, but you just dropped a little.
We did drops. So I love the hands lighting the candle. I love putting salt in his mouth. I love not showing that other car slip, like when he's putting the oil on the ground, Gerard, and he's waiting for cars to slip. You see one, and then you don't need to see the other one.
Right.
The
economy of his storytelling.
It's the economy of the
storytelling.
It's
a 90-minute film.
It's the economy. It's the minimalism.
Yeah.
Despite everything, yes, it is. Maybe it's hard to feel in this movie, but that's why it's so rewarding in the end when you actually are flooded with emotion. Even so, though, like I said, I love this stuff. Yeah. Like Marie's feet when she's picking flowers. She's sitting actually, you just see her feet. I love that. I just do. A car sitting in the driveway to let us know that Jacques has arrived. Like, no one says, oh, look, Jacques is here. Like, no, it's just a car.
No, of course. No, I agree with you. I don't need all that stuff.
What's another one I love? Oh, when she enters the car, when Gerard has entered the car, but you don't know, and she just opens the door and she leans her head in and she says, get out, and you don't know who she's talking to or what's going on. I love that. And then just like him slowly turning off the car to just show how like he's overpowered her. The radio, okay, a jacket hanging with a radio playing. That like it. Okay, where's the owner of the jacket? Obviously, it's Gerard, and they're like having sex.
Right.
But it's just a hanging jacket with a radio playing.
Sure, it's a great image. Yeah.
It's the images.
Here's the thing.
It's the cinematography.
Yeah, but he's not some be all end all. I think.
I'm not saying he is.
Here's the thing, right? What you're getting from Bresson, I'm getting from Tarkovsky.
Yes, I get it from Tarkovsky too.
You just mentioned lighting a candle. I'm thinking of the candle scene from Nostalgia or something, and it's like that. See, that's moving to me, and it's kind of also it's not that he also shoots in this matter of fact way, because there's a very poetic way that he shoots, but it's the actors are also kind of unaffected. Like, no one's hysterical in a Tarkovsky film, really. I mean, with a couple exceptions, but it's a similar acting style, but I'm so much more emotional in a Tarkovsky because I feel like it's actually evoking something that I feel like Bresson isn't, at least with this film. Again, I like L'Argent and A Man Escaped. So, you know.
I'm curious if you would like Mouchette. Oh, what about like just watching the fingerprints being taken? That guy's like,
I guess.
It's
not so special.
I don't know. There's something about hands.
Again, Tarkovsky does hands better. Tarkovsky does hands way better. Are you kidding?
Oh my God. Yeah, I am kidding. I'm sorry.
Do you remember the scene? Have you seen Nostalgia?
I haven't seen Nostalgia.
Oh, okay.
But what about the moments of tension? Like, because you're seeing things in close. Like, for example, the drunk guy when I
felt no tension.
Really? When he knocked over the glass and then he's slowly moving towards the chair and he's gonna hit someone.
Why is no one in that bar doing any? Okay, but no. Before, so when Gerard's smashing everything in the bar, everyone just goes on dancing. What the fuck's that about?
Crazy. It's so weird.
I don't know. I'm not into it.
What about the chain being dragged in the grass? Like you can see it moving and then you see Gerard's hand and
did nothing for me.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Cool. What about the circus?
Sure.
Don't you just love that he runs away and joins a circus?
Yeah.
What about the elephant?
Okay, I love that scene.
Yes.
The elephant and
the tiger, the polar bear.
That's a beautiful scene.
Thank you.
Again, okay, that's the film I wanted this to be. That scene is what I wanted the film to be.
Okay. What about the moment where like he gets it right and everyone's clapping and it cuts back to him and he almost looks like he's smiling?
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much. Of course, Schrader has said that like with his whole transcendental theory, Bresson like gets into the transcendent with music, so it's like the release of music finally. But Bresson actually said that he regrets the music in this movie. Like,
okay, that's a fucking mistake because the music is one of the best parts of the film.
It is.
Schubert,
yes, it is. But he thinks at the end it's too sentimental.
No, I completely disagree. I think if he didn't have the music at the end,
you said it's a cheap thing. Like, yeah, obviously you're gonna feel something when you're listening to Schubert and a donkey's dying.
Well, no, I think No, I'm not. I like the ending. I'm not saying the ending is cheap. I'm just saying it's easy. Like, I'm not saying he's some great filmmaker because he shows a donkey dying in a field. Like, anyone can go film that. And I think the Schubert, if anything, helps sell a little bit. If he did not have the Schubert in this movie, this would be a miserable fucking experience. I agree. I think what the Schubert does is it helps a little bit to even it out. I
agree.
And I think him thinking it's a mistake goes to show me that he's just not my kind of filmmaker.
Maybe he's not.
I just don't get it. I don't get why he made some of those choices. It just seems to go against everything. And I get that that's his thing. I get how radical he is. I don't know. I just don't think that the kind of film he made in this instance, I just don't think that all of his instincts were right for it. That's all.
Listen, it's totally understandable.
Would you leave the Schubert in?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I would leave it in.
Yeah.
Well,
it's one of the only pieces of life in this movie.
I mean, listen, like we mentioned religion, and I think it's a big part in this, honestly.
So do you think this is a Christ story?
So let's talk about that. So there's all of this religious imagery, right? We have the crown, we have Marie's name itself.
Yeah.
His name itself, that was one of the Magi's name that came to visit Jesus, Balthazar. The baptism. I love the procession before his death. It's actually the father's funeral. It's his ashes being taken. And it's like a procession before his death, which is like similar to like Jesus going into Jerusalem on a donkey before his death.
Quick question. What the fuck even happened with that dad? Do you understand what happened there?
Why do you need to know? Why do you need to know?
Because he's showing me too much of it for me to not know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
he died. He was sad.
Then show me less. Show me less. He died of heartbreak?
Yes.
I don't know. What was the whole... I did not understand what was happening with him and the farm and him being embarrassed and he's like a teacher.
So the Jacques, who's rich, his dad owned that farm. And the schoolhouse building was like on the property. And then Jacques' little sister died on the farm.
Right.
So he said, I don't want to come back here. Like, I don't want it. You can farm it for me. I own the land. You farm it. Whatever.
I got that. Yeah.
And then something happened.
Yeah, see, something happens. What happens? Exactly.
Give me a second. Oh, out of nowhere, he says, actually, I need to see all your spending and I want to control you farming this land. And then Marie's dad got really upset. He said, look at this letter. Clearly, he gave me all rights to the land. So it was that. And then people were saying that he was pocketing money, things like that.
Cool.
Anyway, back to religious imagery. The contraband perfume and gold is like the incense and gold. There's a lot of wine with Arnold. There's the bread. So you have all this stuff, the animals in the ark, that's supposed to be kind of like, yeah. So yes, the major reading of this movie is that it's a Christ story. It's no doubt religious and like highly influenced by his Catholicism. It actually won the International Catholic Organization for Cinema Award at the Venice Film Festival. I wonder if they still have that award.
Probably not. I don't know.
So funny. It was, yeah. So do I see it as a Christ story? Here's my thing. And this is great. There's this essay by James Quant. I think that's how you say his name. It's on the Criterion. It's like the essay that comes with this movie on Criterion. And it's so great because he says that the movie is too nihilistic to be transcendental.
Yeah.
Transcendental is in like we've talked about transcendental a lot, but also just like being the Christ story is naturally transcendental, you know? So he said like, it's too nihilistic to be that. And I started thinking about it and it's so interesting. So in Mouchette, I don't really want to kill it. Okay. Mouchette is transcendental for sure. The ending is like super transcendental. In his Joan of Arc, the last shot of the movie, I'd mentioned that I watched the Joan of Arc, remember?
Right.
The last shot of the movie is the pyre with no Joan, like she has disappeared. Like it's just empty chains and the stake. So she's not even there.
Right.
And then Mouchette has a very similar thing where like she kind of disappears. Balthazar doesn't. He dies on that hill. It's an objective Christ story. It's like Christ in the real world.
Right.
He doesn't rise. He dies there. Like he's not resurrected. So I think that it is this like religion in the real world story, which is really interesting.
Sure, it is.
Because here's the thing. Let me give you a few. It's about like how hopeless it is to have religion in the real world. Because, okay, Gerard is singing with the choir. That is shown directly after he has just caused someone to crash his car. Okay? Like what?
Right.
Arnold swears to like God and Mother Mary that he's not going to drink ever again immediately after he's drinking. Mom prays saying, please don't take him like about the dad. She's praying. She's saying, please, like I'll be all alone if he goes immediately after he's dead. The baker who actually does show human compassion for Gerard. For some reason, she likes him and wants to help him.
That blew my mind. Yeah.
And yet he doesn't change.
Right.
He becomes worse after that, actually. He uses the radio and the bike for worse. He's evil and he wins in the end. Like he gets away.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that critic, James Quant, is so right that it's too nihilistic to be the Christ story. I think it's an objective Christ story. It's religion in the real world.
Again, I love the idea of that. It's just, yeah, the film itself, the experience of sitting down and watching the film.
After you just heard all that though, are you reconsidering like giving it another chance?
No, because I think, well, yeah, of course I'm giving it another chance regardless, but I think a film should.
You don't like analyzing film. Here's something that I've realized. You don't like really diving deep into films. Robert Bresson, one of the things, I just read it in the cinematography book today. It was like, the more hidden something is, the better. Like it was, I'm saying it wrong.
Right.
But that was one of his things in the book. It's like,
see, I disagree.
It's more hidden, the more deep it is, and the more beautiful it is.
I think that's a really simple way of thinking.
It's not just that's not just what he was thinking, but like that's one thing of his where it's like, yeah, these are layered and you have to think about them and you have to think about the context and you have to think about so much. And I personally love that.
You do.
And I know you don't. So I think that's why we don't like them. I think that's why we disagree on that.
It's not even that I don't like analyzing. I mean, we have this podcast, but it's like, I think that there's you should enjoy not enjoy. I'm using the word enjoy because
I
again,
don't enjoy watching this movie.
I
enjoy the images.
Yeah, like I enjoy Michael Haneke. Like enjoy just means you're getting something from the act of sitting down and watching the film. That's what I mean by enjoy.
Yes.
There should be value in sitting down and watching this film.
And you don't get it.
And I just didn't get it. Yeah.
Okay.
And even if it is about a parable about religion in the new world and
more importantly, okay, take away all of that. When I first watched it, yes, you get like these, obviously you think about Jesus and you think about all that's going on, but more important and more simply, it's just a meditation on violence. And it's and the way I see it, the first time I watched it, and I had my notes from the first time I watched it, and they were still relevant this time I watched it. It's just about these 3 causes of violence in like our everyday lives. It's greed, it's alcoholism, drug use or alcoholism, and just sadism, plain old like wanting to hurt someone. It's like those 3 things that are so present, like those are what cause violence in everyday lives.
Right.
And that's just what the movie is.
Sure. No, that's a neat little package, but does it fix the fact that his actors are walking around like zombies on screen and I didn't give a shit? No.
All right, that's fair. You know what I realized? Imagine having the balls to go up to the mother of the girl that you literally like fucked up in ways that is just unimaginable and asking to borrow her donkey.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
And then her being like, no, he's all I have left. And he's like, no, please. Like, or he's like, yeah, what
he
the
goes,
fuck?
just one night. But so I didn't realize this until later. They steal him.
Yeah.
Like she says, no, I need him for the funeral.
Yeah.
She says, besides, he's a saint.
She does say that. Yeah. That's one of the times they make it the most clear.
What about when she's sitting with her head in her hands?
What about it?
It's so sad.
Yeah, but there are plenty of sad films. He just doesn't. No, he doesn't get points for this. No.
If we did want to think about it as a Christ story, though, I think it's so interesting because, like,
it's dull.
It's a donkey.
Yeah.
Like, he's like comparing Jesus to a donkey as a Catholic, which is like crazy.
Well, wasn't there a donkey in the stable when Jesus was born?
Yeah, and he rode a donkey into Jerusalem.
Right.
But it's like, it's kind of a really nice metaphor for humility because, like, I don't know, if you see Jesus as like a really humble being who like washes his disciples' feet, what's more humble than a bear, like a beast of burden, donkey? Like, I think that's crazy too.
I'll tell you what's more humble. It's Willem Dafoe in Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah. Aww.
There's a Christ story I can get behind.
Yeah. Should we do sight and sound?
Yeah, let's do sight and sound. What's actually, listen, I'm going first. Sight. Okay. Gerard steals Balthazar to smuggle stuff. They get caught. Balthazar is fired at, gets hit with a bullet, and then it's the next day and he's kind of hiding in this like tree, like in these trees, and it's just a shot of Balthazar hiding in the trees. That was probably the most heartbreaking image. More so than him dying at the end, I think.
What about just him among the sheep? I love that.
Yeah, that was the first side I put down here, and then I revised it. But of course, it is a great image. It's a great image. The movie ends beautifully. What can I say?
My favorite sight is the elephant. I think
that was so close for
elephant. That or him smiling when they're cheering for him.
See, what if this movie just had like no dialogue?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Right? That's what I wanted from this. That's what I wanted.
It would have been so hard, though.
Nah.
And it wouldn't be about humanity if there were no humans in it.
You know what Bresson said about actors, just bringing it back really quick? He said, what they lack is not naturalists, but nature. So give us more nature, bitch.
I think your film bro is showing a little bit.
No.
Okay, what's your favorite sound?
Favorite sound is the sheep bells at the end. It's when he's dying. It's the bells of all the sheep.
Yeah.
Is that yours too?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's close though.
Well, here, let's hear it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite sound. So I have a tie. One of them takes place during the opening credits. It's the Schubert that is
Interrupted
by the most heartbreaking bray you'll ever hear. You will ever hear.
Isn't that just how a bray sounds, though?
So sad, though. When I heard that bray, I started crying. I started crying during the opening
because
credits.
you knew where the movie was going to end up.
He sounds so sad. And I don't know if that's just how donkeys sound.
I think that's just the bray, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so.
I haven't been around enough donkeys in my life. Just the one in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I love that one. They sound. And it's the perfectly timed cut for me.
And the Schubert comes back.
It comes to the climax and then it's like I can't. That's heartbreaking. That is so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
My other one, it's another bray, but it's happier. It's when he's singing to the radio. Do you remember this?
No, let's hear it.
He's so cute. He hears music and he's like, wah, wah, I'm gonna sing too. De tes yeux bleus, prise au piège dans les bleus arpèges, de tes cheveux sortilèges. Aww, he's happy there.
I guess, yeah. You know what? I think I'm gonna rewatch this sooner than like 5 years from now. It might be like in the next year.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah.
If it was ever playing somewhere, I'd go see it.
Well, I feel like it's a 2-watch kind of movie, I guess.
Definitely. I think most of Bresson is.
I guess, but I only saw the other 2 once and I loved those, so it's interesting. It's like you never quite know. I mean, that's just how art is, right? Like you're not going to love everything by one artist, but it's weird because we also talked about this when we did Cirque, of how I love some Cirque and then I didn't like others. And it's this weird confliction of like, when he comes up in conversation, I'm like, yeah, I love this film, but this film is like not great. Or it's like, this didn't do anything for me. It's not that AU HASARD BALTHAZAR is not great or it's bad. It's just that it didn't do anything for me.
Totally understandable.
Which is just like, I just want to feel in a movie. And I think even if it's not obvious, I think if it's more subdued, like a Tarkovsky, again, I'm still feeling like I want to feel something. Whereas in this movie, it was just like a dull sort of like nihilism.
Yeah, it is nihilism.
And then it ends. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah. Well,
Pauline,
I know she doesn't like it.
How do you know that?
It came up when I was doing research.
So as far as I could tell, she didn't write a whole review on it, but there's a little paragraph here in which she is sort of dances around it a little bit. This is what Pauline Kael had to say. Robert Bresson's grave, oblique account of the life and suffering of a donkey and the life and suffering of the people who mistreat him. It's a meditation on sin and saintliness, considered a masterpiece by some, but others may find it painstakingly tedious and offensively holy. I kind of agree. I'm not trying to be like that cool kid who's agreeing with Pauline Kael and Bergman, because I actually didn't know what either of them said when I watched this movie. And I did feel very validated when I saw it. And again, his criticism of this, he said it was dull, which I agree, but he's like, you know, humans are so much more interesting than animals. And I kind of disagree with that. I think this movie just should have gone more in on the animals.
But he has so much like religious...
Bergman? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Bresson, in a way, kind of feels like part of the same world as Bergman and Tarkovsky. Like, they all kind of feel cut from the same cloth. They're just like different approaches. But, yeah.
Interesting.
So that was Pauline. Should we do Letterboxd?
Yeah.
I've got a 4-star review here. This is the highest one I pulled. And they just said, one of the better donkey films out there.
I love that one. I saw that. I have to read this one. You know what's coming. 3 stars. This Shrek live action spinoff about Donkey was darker than expected.
I didn't know you liked Shrek. Here's a 1-star review. This is my first Bresson film, and while I found this to be beautifully shot, I hated it. It was just painfully uninteresting, and all the characters were extremely annoying and just unbearable. Seriously, what the fuck was wrong with every character in this film? Bresson said, let's make a film about the mistreatment and abuse of a donkey and the people around it while mistreating and abusing the actual donkey in the film. Meta mistreatment and abuse, but don't think I'm only rating this film low because of this. I just found it horrible all around. And then they finish with probably my least favorite Criterion that I've seen so far.
Wow. 5 stars. Only legends cried at the end of this film. So sorry, Greg. You're not a legend.
I love this one. 2.5 stars. This is more in line with what I felt. I think I gave it 3 on Letterboxd. This person rated it slightly lower, but they said, you know those Magic Eye books where you look at a picture and try to see an image in it? I never could see those fucking pictures, and this film is basically those books in film form to me. This is also Michael Haneke, the Misery Porn King's favorite film. That's way more interesting than the film.
That's so funny. So that was AU HASARD BALTHAZAR.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I have to... Did I get my points across?
Yeah. I think you made a good argument for your case.
Okay.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. You did. Right. I would be curious to see you watch this pretty soon because it's like... you know what? And this, I'm not saying this has to be a criteria to enjoy this movie, but I think that like really looking into Bresson and reading his like theory it kind of helps. I'm not saying that you should like, I liked this before I read it. I did like this the first time I saw it.
Yeah, that's telling. Because if art should stand apart from its artist, meaning
100%,
you shouldn't have to be steeped in
100%,
the ideologies of an artist to appreciate their work.
I think that there's just something so beautiful about how obsessed he was with the camera and like what cinema should be, like what cinematography should be, and the fact that it should be completely independent from other art forms. And I think there's something so commendable about that. Like, I'm not saying maybe he was pretentious, maybe it's not practical at all, but the fact that he stuck to that and he did that and he tried to like prove something, I think it's really cool.
Sure.
Like when I was reading that book again, I was doubting myself so much. I'm like, oh, I'm about to make this movie that's like nothing like this, which is fine, I guess. But then it was always in the back of my mind the whole time. I'm like, am I using theater right now or am I using pure cinematography? Which is interesting because I love theater and I even love movies that feel like theater. I really do. Look at Bergman. Like, yeah. So I really am torn, but I'm not torn in the fact where I feel like I have to choose. I think maybe that's why you're being a little like, you're not opening yourself to it as much because you feel like you have to choose now that this is the way to make movies, which you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Let's move on. What are we doing next week?
Next week, a little movie from 1968, The Color of Pomegranates. It's number 84 on the list. It's another tied for 84.
Yay!
So yeah, very excited. I've seen this one before. I think you have too, right?
I have seen this. This is the holy grail of Armenian cinema. It really is. Like, this is it. Like, yeah. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is a big one. There'll be a lot to talk about in this one because this movie's very cryptic.
It is a tableau. Yeah,
it is a tableau. Exactly.
Is, yeah.
Exactly. Maybe cryptic's not the right word. It is definitely a tableau. So yeah, come back next week. We will be tackling The Color of Pomegranates.
See you then.
Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
See ya.
Bye.
This has been an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. Seen and Heard is Jacqueline Pistachian and Greg Kleinschmidt. Theme music by Andrew Cox. You can find us at seenandheardpod.com.